www.wadr.org. WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. The Nigerian government announces a new count of 98 people killed and 69 others injured from the fuel tank explosion in Niger State. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye inaugurates a conference of public administrators to modernize Senegal's public sector. Mali's transitional president Assimi Goïta vows the creation of a weapon factory as the country commemorates 64th Armed Forces Day.
In these days of celebration of our army, I'm pleased to inform our adversaries, both inside and outside, that Mali is no longer a favorite terrain for those nostalgic for a bygone past with a doctrinal, organizational, and material spirit.
And the Ivorian government sets a new farm gate price for cashew nuts for the 2025 season.
For the 2025 season, President Ouattara has approved a substantial 54% increase in the farm gate price of cashew nuts compared to the previous season. The new price for well-dried and well-sorted cashew nuts has been set at 425 CFA francs per kilogram.
Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and a warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia and Sierra Leone. We begin in Nigeria, where the death toll from the weekend fuel tank explosion has been revised. In a statement by the Niger State Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and signed by the Director General Abdullahi Baba Ara, 98 people were confirmed to have been killed in the inferno. According to Baba Ara, 69 others sustained serious injuries from the explosion that occurred in Diko, a rural community in Niger State. The deadly fire also affected 20 shops, causing significant losses to business owners in the area. The Director General of the Emergency Management Agency described the incident as a catastrophic tragedy that has thrown the state into mourning. He confirmed that rescue operations are ongoing, with emergency responders working tirelessly to recover the bodies of those who lost their lives. The state government and SEMA expressed regret at the sad event and promised to support the victims by ensuring that those injured get the care they need. The Senegalese head of state today, Monday, inaugurated the first edition of the Conference of Public Administrators and Managers, otherwise known as CAMP. The event marks the launch of a series of major reforms for the modernization of public administration in the country. This major event in Diamniadio, the outskirts of Dakar, the nation's capital, brought together several members of the government, including Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko, as well as officials of the public administration. Augustine Kole tells us more.
The objective of the first camp is to lay the foundations for an ambitious modernization of the administrative apparatus and implement a systemic break through the public policy framework entitled National Transformation Agenda, tagged Senegal Vision 2050. In his opening speech, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye spoke of strategic reforms aimed at improving public finance management and strengthening the efficiency of the administration. This mission will be streamlined by the National Agency for the Centralization of Public Procurement, a government commission that will be established in the coming days. Through CAMP, the new Senegalese authority will rationalize state spending and improve the budgetary room for maneuver within the framework of sustainable consolidation and virtual management of public finances. The Senegalese leader said after 9 months in power, his team has made significant findings, particularly regarding the state of public finances and the organization of the administration, considered frozen in outdated patterns. The result of this is the ineffectiveness of state institutions in the face of rapidly changing socio-economic realities. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye emphasized the collaboration between ministries, calling for the finalization of sectoral policy letters in each department and the establishment of a culture of management dialogue.
Augustine Collier reporting there. Still in Senegal, the Council of Press Broadcasters and Publishers of Senegal has expressed worry about the current state of media operations in the country. According to the council, the government has strategically implemented measures to suppress the media, blocking some press bank accounts, shutting down media houses, and collecting all taxes waived under the previous administration, among others. President of the council, Mamadou Ibra Khan, at a press conference in Dakar, stressed that these actions by the government hinder press freedom and democracy. Christopher Teacher was at the press conference and filed this report.
At Monday's press conference, the Council of Press Broadcasters and Publishers of Senegal, SEDEPS, did not get the opportunity to use the main conference center for the briefing despite earlier notice. However, the unfazed leadership of the council addressed the media on the compound of the press house, highlighting major challenges affecting the press operations and management in the country. According to the council, the government has developed strategies to kill the private press, a situation that directly affects press freedom and democracy. Mamadou Ibra Khan is president of SEDEPS.
Effectivement, le Sénégal est considéré comme une vitrine de la démocratie en Afrique.
Indeed, Senegal is considered a showcase for democracy in Africa. This was the case under different previous regimes, and in particular during the last two political changes. There were certainly threats to press freedom, but generally speaking, press freedom was respected in Senegal. Today, with the new regime of the third political alternation, there is a very big decline in press freedom. And this is precisely what we wanted to denounce today, and the blocking of the bank accounts of press companies.
The council believes that while the government actions, including shutting down media houses and the collection of all taxes waived under previous administration, among others, affect their operations, they are open for negotiations with the government for resolutions.
Nous voulons négocier avec le gouvernement du Sénégal, avec le régime.
We want to negotiate with the government of Senegal. The problem is that to negotiate, it takes two. The government of Senegal, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, has not responded to any of our requests for an audience. We believe that negotiation is necessary sooner or later. The regime will be forced to negotiate with private press companies, which represent the majority of media in Senegal, and so we know that we have a role to play in the sovereignty policy advocated by the regime of President Bassirou Diomaye Faye.
Donc nous savons.
From 2021 to 2024, Senegal's press has slipped from 49th to 94th place on the World Press Freedom Index, published by media watchdog Reporters Without Borders.
Christopher Teacher reporting there. Meanwhile, the Senegalese League of Human Rights has expressed deep concern in a statement following the deaths of 4 detainees. These individuals passed away between December 2024 and January 2025 in the prisons of Thiès, St. Louis, and Tambacounda. The Human Rights League has condemned the situation as deplorable and is calling for an investigation to clarify the circumstances surrounding the deaths. The Human Rights Organization is also urging the new authorities to implement reforms aimed at decongesting the prisons and improving detention conditions.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
As a reminder, we stream live on wadr.org and on Facebook, WADR English Service. The Malian Army today celebrated its 64th anniversary. During the official commemoration ceremony in Bamako, Army Chief Assimi Goïta announced the creation of an arms industry and strengthening of the capacities of the armed forces, FAMA. Mali's transitional president said the industry will be a weapon factory for the country's army. In his speech, General Assimi Goïta also highlighted Mali's unwavering commitment to sovereignty, self-determination and regional cooperation within the Sahel.
In these days of celebration of our army, I'm pleased to inform our adversaries, both inside and outside, that Mali is no longer a favorite terrain for those nostalgic for a bygone past with a doctrinal, organizational, and material spirit. The military doctrine of the FAMAs has been reformed to face new threats, thanks to the new impetus provided by the Mali War School, which is home to its first class of the AES. Our military leaders are now more aware of the issues at stake, better prepared intellectually, and fully capable of thinking independently without external interference. With a view to consolidating the operational achievements of 2024 and considering other successes, the process of equipping the armed and security forces will be improved in 2025 with the establishment of a military industry. We are actively working on the installation of armed factories with units for the assembly of individual and collective weapons, assembly of light tactical vehicles, manufacture and ammunition and explosive for civilian use.
General Assimi Goïta is Mali's transitional president. We now take you to Ghana, where the government has ordered an immediate investigation into a clash between miners and officers of the Ghana Armed Forces in the Ashanti region. The confrontation at the Anglo Gold Yard in Obuasi over the weekend resulted in 8 fatalities. President John Mahama's directive followed concerns over the recent clash that fears that the recent clash has ignited tensions between local mining communities and security forces. A leaked internal document from Anglo Gold Ashanti advises staff to avoid wearing company uniforms or using company vehicles in Obuasi, citing security concerns. From Accra, Nadiri Tete reports.
8 illegal miners were killed in a shootout with soldiers guarding Anglo Gold Ashanti's mining site in Obuasi. The miners, allegedly armed, breached the site's security fence and opened fire on a military patrol, prompting a defensive response. 7 died on the spot, while 1 succumbed to injuries at the hospital. A soldier sustained minor injuries and 4 company vehicles were torched during the clashes. Surviving miners dispute the military's claim, asserting that they were unarmed and were only pleading to be allowed to earn their keep. These individuals were unarmed. They went there to plead to be allowed to eke out a living. They didn't even go there to mine on that day. They didn't go with tools. They knelt down and pleaded with these officers. Even in battle, when you surrender, are you killed? We will ensure that the officer that gave the shoot to kill order is brought to book. President John Dramani Mahama has subsequently ordered for an investigation and directed Anglo Gold Ashanti to cover medical costs and burial arrangements for the deceased. Security agencies have been deployed to restore order, while Anglo Gold Ashanti schools have temporarily closed due to escalating tensions and property damage in the community. For WDR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
And just before the break, let's take you to Liberia, because the rule of law caucus, a group of lawmakers aligned with Speaker J. Fonati Kofa, has condemned President Joseph Boakar's decision to suspend indefinitely the chairperson of the National Elections Commission, Deveta Brown-Lansana, over actions deemed disruptive to public order and stability. The president's action has, however, drawn widespread criticism and sparked concerns about the state of democracy in the country. The caucus has consequently called on the president to rescind his decision. From Monrovia, Grace Joshua reports.
The president's decision to suspend Madam Brown-Lansana indefinitely followed an investigation into administrative action deemed disruptive to the public. These include the unilateral closure of the National Election Commission for 1 month without the National Election Commission Board of Commissioners approval, a violation of the 1986 new elections law. Additionally, she dismissed approximately 40 employees for gross insubordination after protests at the National Election Commission head office, where the employees were demanding hazard benefits for their work during the 2023 elections. In response to the growing conflict, President Wadr intervened by establishing an investigative panel to address the situation. The aggrieved workers expressed gratitude and commended the president for his decisive action against Commissioner Director Brian Lassana.
Madam Chairperson has provided adequate reasons for her own removal, but the president, being as generous as he is, rewarded her with an indefinite suspension in order to restore calm and stability to the commission. This news has brought relief to the entire workforce.
Meanwhile, the suspension has drawn sharp criticism from the Rule of Law Legislative Caucus, led by Representative Musa Assam Berete of District No. 7, Nima County. The caucus described the move as unconstitutional, emphasizing that the National Election Commission independence enriched in the Constitution is crucial to protecting democracy. Additionally, the Supreme Court of Liberia has unequivocally ruled that the suspension of 10 new officers is tantamount to their removal. Such removal are constitutionally permissible only through the impeachment process, which must involve the national legislators. For West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Grace Joshua in Monrovia.
You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here's a reminder of our top stories. The Nigerian government announces a new count of 98 people killed and 69 others injured from the fuel tank explosion in Niger State over the weekend. President Diomaye Faye of Senegal inaugurated a conference of public administrators to modernize the country's public sector. Mali's transitional president, Army Chief Assimi Goïta, vows the creation of a weapon factory as the country commemorates 64th Armed Forces Day. Still ahead in the news, the Ivorian government sets a new farm gate price for cashew nuts for the 2025 season. We also have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
In Burkina Faso's capital, Ouagadougou, the Mobile Brigade for Economic Control and Fraud has launched a major operation to tackle illegal price increases and the sale of expired products. The operation involved surprise checks in shops across several districts of the capital. As a result, many businesses were shut down for not following official price regulations. The violations uncovered included the sale of expired food and drinks, as well as overcharging for products like sugar, soap, and butane gas. Bernard Belmegiri, head of the investigation squad, emphasized the government's commitment to enforcing price control and quality checks, warning that non-compliant shops will be closed. The operation also uncovered wholesalers reselling goods at inflated prices, pressuring retailers to follow suit. This move is part of a broader effort to combat the high cost of living and protect consumers. Authorities reminded the public that price hikes are illegal and offenders will face penalties. Well, let's take you to Côte d'Ivoire now, where the minimum farm gate price for cashew nuts, well dried and properly sorted, has been set at 425 CFA francs for the 2025 season compared to 275 CFA francs in the previous season, an increase of 150 CFA francs per kilogram. The announcement, which was made by the Minister of Agriculture, Rural Development and Food Production, Kobenan Kwasi Ajomani, during the Cotton and Cashew Producers Day, has been warmly welcomed by cashew producers. HRTSU has more in this report.
According to the Ivorian Minister of Agriculture, Kobenan Kwasi Ajomani, the 150 CFA franc increase in the farm gate price of cashew nuts from 275 CFA francs in the previous season to 425 CFA francs demonstrates the government's commitment to improving the living conditions of producers.
Fidèle à ses engagements vis-à-vis de la grande famille.
Faithful to his commitment to the large family of producers and in line with continued efforts to improve the living conditions of the producer community, His Excellency President Alassane Ouattara has pledged to make new efforts and sacrifices to honor the hard work of farmers. For the 2025 season, President Ouattara has approved a substantial 54% increase in the farm gate price of cashew nuts compared to the previous season. The new price for well-dried and well-sorted cashew nuts has been set at 425 CFA francs per kilogram.
The decision has been praised by producers who are calling on buyers to strictly adhere to the government set price of 425 CFA francs.
As farmers and cashew producers, we are extremely pleased with the price the government has set. However, it depends on the buyers. The price may look good on paper, but in practice, it is not always the case. If the government could implement measures to ensure the price is respected across all villages, it will be even more beneficial.
We are very happy with the price because it truly touches our hearts. This increase will help us generate resources needed to meet our essential needs.
It is worth noting that Côte d'Ivoire remains the world's leading producer of brown gold, with raw cashew nut production increasing from 500,000 tons in 2013 to 1.2 million tons in 2023.
A report by WADR's Abidjan correspondent Albin Ade and voiced by Eche Atisu.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
The guest segment tonight takes us to Nigeria, where the death toll from the devastating tank explosion that occurred on Saturday in Diko, Niger State, has risen to 98, with reports indicating that more than 80 of the victims have been interred in a mass grave. The explosion reportedly occurred when a crowd began scooping fuel from a fallen tanker, igniting a catastrophic fire that resulted in the tragic loss of lives. Our guest is Dr. Margie Peters, a public affairs commentator.
My immediate reaction will be my sympathies to the families that have been bereaved. So sorry for their loss, and I just pray that the Lord give them the strength and the fortitude to go through this challenging grief.
What are the factors to blame for the continuous occurrence of fuel tanker explosions in the country? Recall last October, over 100 people died in similar incident in Jigawa State.
I think the greatest challenge is our means of transportation. In Nigeria is predominantly operating a road transport system. So most of the things we do road haulaging, and it will have been good if the road system is what is hauling. You know, it takes away all the risk which normal citizens, ordinary road users. Across Nigeria, we use petroleum fuel tankers to transport fuel across the country. And the risk is enormous. And just like that has happened, it caused a lot of damage even to the road, to infrastructures. It is a risk to other road users. Some of the time they do late travels. So all of this could have been avoided if we do rail haulage.
In terms of citizens often rushing to fallen tanker to scoop fuel, what message does it send out about the economic conditions of citizens in Nigeria, in addition to concerns about road safety and regulations?
I think we have to strengthen safety. And a lot of people who on this basis try to scuffle survival by doing that on the road. There are a lot of people who are actually apprenticing to take over being drivers of those tankers and all of that. So there's a lot of political economy around it. But when we prioritize safety, then we will realize that that is very unnecessary, especially when you carry very flammable, dangerous fluids and material. It shouldn't go through civil society. It should go through communities where civilians dwell and where people around the road or around the places where they go. We should take them away from those places to avert risk like this.
Do you think it's a normal thing or a good thing that citizens who use falling tankers to scoop fuel as a means of livelihood?
That is keen into the merit of what has just happened. When tankers drive, there are a lot of people that fall around it because, one, they have stopovers. I'm just looking at the political economy of road haulage. But then the risk of people scooping fuel, I didn't hear that initially, of scooping fuel or gas or diesel is actually a very unintelligent thing to do because it is highly flammable. And I'm shocked if people will still be doing that with all that has happened in the South, in the North Central, and all of the places where that has happened. So I will never encourage or support that people should go scooping fuel, irrespective of how hard life is. Don't put your life on the line because you want to get a little thing that you will be able to get little money out of.
Dr. Margie Peters, a public affairs commentator, speaking to my colleague Augustine Kwale. And it's up next is a sport news with Sankule Janko.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The CAF Champions League quarter-final lineup for 2024-25 season has been confirmed following a dramatic conclusion to the group stages on Sunday, with 8 of Africa's finest clubs securing their places in the knockout rounds. Mamelodi Sundowns claimed the final quarter-final berth on Sunday after a hard-fought 1-1 draw against FAR Rabat, compelling a diverse lineup that features clubs from 6 different nations, including 2 each from Egypt and South Africa. Group A produced perhaps the tournament's biggest surprise, as Sudan's Al Hilal topped the standings with MC Alger of Algeria joining them in the knockout phase. The Moroccan champions FAR Rabat finished top of Group B ahead of South Africa's Mamelodi Sundowns. Orlando Pirates of South Africa emerged as Group C winners alongside record champions Al Ahly in second. Group D saw Tunisia's Esperance continue their impressive form to claim top spot, while Egypt's Pyramids secured runners-up position. The quarterfinals are scheduled for late March and early April. The first leg will take place on March 28th and 29th, with the return fixtures set for April 4th and 5th. This year's champion will be crowned following a 2-legged final, with the first match set for May 24th and the return leg scheduled for June 1st, 2025. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
Sponsors brought to you by Sankule Janko. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Maujo Juf and Sheikh Njai for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook, WADR English Service, and stream live on WADR.org. I'm Abdullah Hassan. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.